For the record, my name is Brian Worrell, District 4 City Councilor, and I'm the Chair of the Boston City Council Committee on Ways and Means. Today is May 13, 2024. This hearing is being recorded, is also being live streamed at boston.gov/city-council-tv and broadcast on Xfinity Channel 8, RCN Channel 82, Files Channel 964. Written comments may be sent to the committee email at ccc.wm@boston.gov and will be made part of the record and available to all councilors. Public testimony will be taken at the end of this hearing. Individuals will be called on in the order in which they signed up and will have 2 minutes to testify. If you are interested in testifying in person, please add your name to the sign-up sheet near the entrance of the chamber. If you're looking to testify virtually, please email our Central Staff Liaison, Shane Pack, at shane.pack, that's shane.pac@boston.gov for the link, and your name will be added to the list. Today's hearing is on docket number 0744. Message in order for your approval in order to reduce the FY25 appropriation for the Reserve for Collective Bargaining by $7,740,649 to provide funding for the Boston Police Department for the FY24 increases contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the Boston Police Superior Officers Federation. Docket number 0745. Message in order for a supplemental appropriation order for the Boston Police Department for the FY25 in the amount of $7,754,649 to cover the FY25 costs contained within the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the Boston Superior Officers Federation. The terms of the contract are July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2025. The major provisions of the contract include base wage increases of 2%, 1.5%, 2%, 1%, and 2.5% to be given in July of each fiscal year of the contract term, as well as the addition of the Transitional Career Award Program in July 2023. The contract also contains reforms relating to discipline, officer return to duty, paid detail system, and union release. These matters were sponsored by Mayor Michelle Wu and were referred to the committee on May 1st, 2024. I'm not sure who was here first, but today I'm joined by my colleagues, Council President Louis Jen, Council Coletta, Council Santana, Council Fitzgerald, Council Murphy, and Council Flynn. I'll now turn it over to the administration to give opening comments. We are joined by City of Boston Budget Director, Director Williamson, Director of Labor for the City of Boston, Director Bushi, and,
John Wilton, Labor Counsel for BBD.
Nice.
And Deputy Superintendent Richard Dayhill, Office of Labor Relations, Boston Police Department.
Thank you. The floor is now yours.
Thank you, Chair Worrell and other members of the Boston City Council. My name is Jim Williamson. I'm the Budget Director here at the City of Boston, and myself and my colleagues are excited at this opportunity to provide more information about the Boston Police Superior Officers contract and the impact on the city's budget. I'm here to address the 2 dockets and appropriation orders before you and the transactions they represent. As we mentioned, we're joined by Renee Mushi from the Central Labor Relations team and the Boston Police Labor team. In docket number 0744 and 0745, increased the Boston Police budget by $7,754,649 and reduced the central collective bargaining reserve by the same amount. The FY24 budget, as finalized in June 2023, included a $76.2 million in aggregate to cover collective bargaining transactions expected to be settled during the fiscal year. Since July 1, the City Council has passed 13 collective bargaining supplemental appropriations drawing on the reserve in amounts totaling $59.5 million for the various 13 city union and BPHC unions. With a reduction of this $7.8 million for the Superior Officers Union, the new balance of the reserve will be $8.9 million. With that, I will turn it over to the labor team if there's anything that they want to address.
Good afternoon. Renee Bushy for City of Boston Labor Relations. This MOA with the Superiors Officers Union largely mirrors the other 3 MOAs that were agreed to between the city and voted on by the City Council. Has the main 4 points of police reform that we got in the other contracts, one regarding discipline, return to duty, some changes to the times of union release, and some to the detail system were the main avenues we pursued with the police and negotiations. In addition, this contract also, we were able to get some changes to the staffing in the operations department for 911, giving the police commissioner a little bit more discretion over how those should be staffed. So that was an additional item we got here. And just some small changes to how the detail system would be implemented. But by and large, it largely mirrors the other 3 contracts that were previously discussed and agreed to by City Council. So thank you.
Nope, nothing else. Just that this new contract really does create a path to civilianize the supervision of the operations division. That was the main difference in this contract from all the other sworn contracts.
Thank you. Now I'll turn it over to my council colleagues for questioning. Starting with Councilor Murphy, the floor is yours.
Thank you for being here and to the police for being here. You kind of touched on it, but if you could go into a little more the difference between this one and the other 2 unions. What were the kind of sticking points and what brought us here to land on this contract that I know that they ratified, but we're looking forward to pass this week, hopefully, for them.
I mean, I think, like we said, probably the biggest difference is the agreement we got from them. You know, other police unions gave up a little bit more in union release and, central booking. I think they were seeing other officers, a lot of the BPD to move around officers more there. So I think the biggest change here is the operations agreement, that there's superior officers who supervise civilians in 911 operations. And the way like 911 seems to be going, that it's more of a specialized rather than a sworn field. And in some cases, it might be better to have specialized civilians supervising the civilians. So when that department and the commissioner are ready to do that, there was a previous agreement that we agreed to staff these with superior officers. And both for, I think, for the operations department and for BPD to put like skilled sworn supervisors in the field rather than in 911 may make sense. So that's the direction they wanted to go. So that was a tough one to get from the superior officers because, they have several officers who on their board who've been in this position for a long time. So we had several conversations with BPD, just understanding that we weren't trying to undermine their unit in any way, that it was just for the efficiency of the operation. So I think that was they had several other requests they made at different times, but I think that was probably the biggest sticking point in the negotiations.
And was there a reason, or was it just the scheduling that they're the last ones that were in front of us?
I mean, it was not an easy negotiation, I would say. There was a lot of points that they wanted to rediscuss and reinvent. So it was, I think it ended up, coming together fine, but it wasn't an easy negotiation. I think that's probably why it was the last one.
Will there be an opportunity when the changes come to the 911 call center to maybe have employees who work there now, be promoted into those positions? What type of management role will be overseeing that in the future? And can it be from the current workforce in that union through SEIU?
There's certainly no prohibition around the current workforce. I don't know if we've thought a lot about how that's all going to work. We need to create these new positions eventually and create new job descriptions, create a real roadmap for how we're going to transfer all that work.
Is there a timeline or like a deadline for that to happen? Or is it more just good faith that we're
No, I
going to get
mean,
there?
It's more, we have the right to do it. So the earliest, I guess we were going to have 2 superior officers until the end of this contract, and then when the contract ends, the commissioner has the right to do what he wants. He doesn't have to do anything, but he has the right to
It's
move
there.
staff around.
Okay. Okay. No other questions?
Thank you. Council President Lujan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, and I want to thank you for being here today. Civilianizing the supervision of 911 operators is something that the workers in the 911 operations have been fighting for quite some time. It's something that the commissioner himself, when he was previously with the department in that role, has fought for. And so I just want to congratulate the workers. When I was visiting 911 operations, that was something that was just so important to them. So I'm happy that we've been able to get to this place and this point, and want to shout out the work of local 888 in making this happen. So, and we honored them. Actually, Councilor Weber last week honored them here on the City Council. So I wanted to just highlight that, and I think that's a step in the right direction. I have a question just with respect to disputes, and first the arbitration, the disciplinary offenses. I assume that list is very same to the one that was in the BPA contract, if not exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
It's exactly the same, and so just want to say I think that's a good starting point. And I think we probably still have more to learn in terms of expanding that list and what else can be captured there. But I think that's also really important that there are some disciplinary matters that we won't have to go through arbitration for because we deem them that serious. So my question is for the disputes regarding officers' fitness for light duty, and this, I believe this is for my own awareness and my own knowledge. What is the difference between an officer's fitness for light duty and fitness for regular duty, and how is that determination made if there's a potential injury, that prevents them from coming to work?
So, Counselor, we actually like to use the word modified duty, and it can really be any type of restriction that an officer might have. So, an officer might not be able to run and jump, and so they might not be able to go on the street and chase the criminals or suspects. So, there's many different restrictions that employees have that we can accommodate in certain places in the department. And that determination is made really between the officer's physician, and the department physician.
Okay, and does that include like potential administrative work at headquarters or in a station? So that could also be modified duty.
It could, yes.
And there are determinations sometimes that that based on whatever the medical injury is, even that modification for administrative work the officer is not fit to do that.
There are instances when officers are very seriously injured, of course, that they couldn't even come to work and perform administrative tasks.
Is that where most of the is that where most of the issues arise, where it's around that modification for administrative work, or is it mostly for like work out in the streets?
It's really a combination of a lot of things. I think the reason we've been able to reduce the amount of people on 111F so much is because we have really pushed quite a bit more for modified duty and really trying to get people back at least modified duty and performing some tasks, and then they're eventually able to go back to full duty.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you to the administration for coming to this negotiation. Thank you to the union for all the work in sort of getting us to this place. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Santana?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for all of you for being here. I have just two questions. First one is, and I think the council president just touched on it. How does the removal of the certain disciplinary offense from the arbitration impact the overall disciplinary process within the department?
So it would prevent the union from representing the employee and grieving the employee through the arbitration process if they are sustained at at Internal Affairs for one of the various offenses listed.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. And then just my next question would be, regarding the disputes over an officer's fitness for lightly duty, what measures are in place to ensure the impartiality of the independent medical examiner appointed by the city?
So, I mean, I just want to point out, like, what this change made was that previously under their contract, this disputes over their medical ability to fitness for duty would go to an arbitrator, a lawyer who both sides would present to. So we said, well, that doesn't make sense, because why are we going to arbitration and having an arbitrator decide when a doctor should just be looking at the medicals, examining them, saying, can you do the work? So that's really the change. We didn't change too much what modified duty means or anything like that, but just the person who's making the decision, that it would be, those are things we discussed quite a bit in negotiations, was that it would be an independent medical examiner. We had a lot of ideas of who should do it, but, I think.
Yeah.
They don't work for the department, but
Right.
they will be contracted by the department. The department has to pay for it.
Okay. No, makes sense. No, thank you. This is a big win for the workers, so congratulations to them. And again, appreciate you all taking the time to be here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Santana. I want to acknowledge that we've been joined by Councilor Mejia. Councilor Coletta, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. My questions have been asked, and so I don't have any questions. I just want to express gratitude for the captains, lieutenants, and sergeants in my district. I see former Captain Chicolo is here. Good to see you, sir. Shout out to Captain Martin and Captain Biggerton in my district, and thank you for your work on this. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Councilor Fitzgerald, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. No further questions myself, just here to show support for our superior officers. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Flynn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the administration team and the police officials that are here as well. Jim, the question I asked at the outset, the pay raise to 1.5 to 2.5, is that, with cost of living going up, is that the best the city could do?
Yeah, I think that you particularly in this contract, you need to take it also in conjunction with other compensation components. So that's one element, and I think it is a fair and affordable approach to funding the contract.
Any other thoughts from anybody?
I do think it's not just 2-1-1 with the TCAP. This is like a 21% contract over 5 years. So it does seem like monetarily they're doing okay in the contract.
Are there any concerns regarding central booking, prisoners across, I shouldn't say that, potential suspects across the city brought to Nashua Street? Is there any issues as it relates to logistics in terms of getting those into Nashua Street, traffic, another officer off the street? Talk to me about that, please.
So, Councilor, I don't think this is the best panel to talk about operational central booking. I think there's a lot of sworn officers on the other panel coming up next that might have a little bit more work, but I know it's mentioned in there. It's mentioned just to, in the MOA, just to recognize that we have fulfilled some bargaining obligations there, and that they'll talk to us a little bit more about what other bargaining impacts that will cause.
No, I understand that. I understand that. But tell me what your position is on it.
I think operationally,
operationally, I think that's a fair question. I'd like to know that. And I also want to recognize my neighbor in South Boston, who I have a great deal of respect for, Deputy Rich Dahill.
Thank you, sir. I think what we're trying to do is balance the benefits that central booking will do. That will give any people we take into custody better access to medical care, health care, basically leaving the holding of prisoners to people who are best able to perform those duties. So I think we balance different issues. Obviously, there could be a concern that there's going to be a longer transportation going to a central booking. But I think on the whole, the department feels that this is a plan that they want to follow through with.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Flynn. Vice Chair Peppin, the floor is yours.
Chair, thank you so much. I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you all for the work you do. Just here to learn more, like my colleagues mentioned. But I'll yield the rest of my time to the chair.
Thank you. Councilor Mejia?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you guys for being here. I just have one question, and I'm sorry I was a little late, but can you just walk me through and help me understand what you mean by the removal of arbitration for certain disciplinary offenses? What are those? What is that considered? What does the disciplinary offense look like in your world?
So if you are, have a sustained finding or indicted for one of these listed crimes, so typically if you are charged with any misconduct and you're a police officer, you can grieve and arbitrate that any discipline, it's investigated and you're given, a 10-day suspension, you can grieve and arbitrate that, through an internal city process and then to a third-party neutral arbitrator who gets to make a decision and say, police department, were you right or not in this discipline? So if it's one of these cases, that contractual remedy is not available to them. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. But I do have a follow-up.
Okay.
So in my work, I'm so loud. I feel like Krishna. Is my really loud? I've worked with police officers in different capacities. Some I just happen to see out in these streets. Other times I've had opportunities to really dig in a little bit deeper. Some of them have had issues with disciplinary actions. Mm-hmm. And this is all going back to the fact that, and I'm going to name it again, particularly officers of color who feel like some of the disciplinary cases against them have prevented them from being able to move on up the ranks. And what they have cited, and I don't know if you can confirm or deny this, but that sometimes navigating this space, it's oftentimes all who you know, and some folks get off easier than others. And so this is the reason why I'm asking the question around the arbitration in certain disciplinary offenses, because there are some, particularly officers of color, who have faced harder or harsher disciplinary practices than their white counterparts. And so some of these folks have not been able to move up the ranks because of their disciplinary infraction. So is this something that you all can talk to, or you're the wrong panel? Because we're talking about right now disciplinary actions, and so if I have an opportunity to uplift that, I'd like to.
So, this is just sort of takes away one of the remedies that a officer might have in the disciplinary process. So they'll still have their internal process, an internal hearing if they request it, if they want to appeal. They can still appeal to civil service. So this basically just limits in certain circumstances what they can arbitrate. It just sort of limits one of those avenues. So the internal processes are still the same. The civil service process is still the same. It just limits for these particular infractions the ability to arbitrate.
I think that is the issue you raised is something that my office and I think the department takes pretty seriously. I know when we do any discipline, we look at comparators. We're even trying to get more regimented about that, the comparators, and make sure discipline, is not being skewed in any direction. So, I think that is something we do. We try to take, and then there's also like the union pursuing the cases. Mm-hmm. So we institute it, but then the union has to pursue and negotiate and settle or litigate these cases. So there are a lot of different factors that could, go into like where something ends. But no, I think it's a serious concern that we both
Yeah.
take seriously.
And it's important for us to acknowledge that this concern exists, because I have seen other officers who have displayed very bad behavior and have been able to move up the ranks, while other officers not so much so. And so this may be a moot point for this conversation, but I think it's worth noting for the record that there are some concerns.
Thank you, Councilman Mejia. I want to acknowledge that Council Weber has joined us. Council Weber, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you. So in terms of overtime, we've heard a lot about how there's not enough staff to fill the overtime needs of the department. Do you have, and we keep seeing that each year the department spends more than is budgeted for overtime. So I guess question one is, how much is budgeted for overtime? Do you know? And is this, sorry, is that already?
Oh, no, so I just wanted to just let you be aware that this is on
Okay.
and that this can still pertain to this, but this is on the collective bargaining agreements between the City of Boston and the Boston Police Superior Officers Federation.
Yeah,
On the
okay.
contract. But go ahead,
Okay.
sorry.
Well, I guess, is there anything in this collective bargaining agreement that seeks to address the fact that the department spends more on overtime every year?
Yeah, I will give you what the recommended budget is for overtime for the department. But I think part of the goals of some of the hearing discussion this morning, and it'll continue this afternoon, is the goal is to fill recruit classes, replacement recruit classes, because that's one of the big drivers of overtime, is needing to fill required shifts, in the district, and overtime is used as what they refer to as replacement overtime in order to make sure that the shifts are covered. So I don't know if there's anybody from the labor or PPD or what labor.
I mean, it was in negotiations a factor. Like, a lot of our proposals were kind of, the objectives were to get people, union release and IME, to get people who are on union release, not on union release, but doing their city job and working for the police department, lowers the cost of overtime. The IME, getting people who are out injured, when the position's being held and backfilled, getting them back to work sooner if they're able to, lowers the cost of overtime. Having the operations department, doing work, being able to be reassigned to the field also could lower the cost of overtime. So not specifically, but I think a lot of our proposals were, the objective was let's try to get some of the officers back on the street and not doing these other things so we can lower the cost for the department.
Do you have numbers of how many, sworn officers are doing non-police work and at the department?
I mean, we talked about it with specificity to certain union release time and things like that. I don't have them in front of me, but I think they exist.
Okay. Are you aware that they have, in the past, the police departments used police officers to do scheduling of details and things like that?
So there was some discussion about that as well. Yeah, in the detail clerks. That is something that's in the BPPA agreement, I believe, that we can move those out, the detail clerks, to civilianized and using officers for other avenues.
Okay, and this may be a question for BPD, but do you know if they've done that for the detail clerks?
They're working on that, finalizing the detail system, and with this contract, the Federation will be participating in the new detail system. We'll have all the sworn members participating in, and then we are working to update how we're going to implement the system.
Oh, yeah, but what I'm referring to, I think we're talking about detail clerks.
Right, yeah.
For people just scheduling.
We are, right now, we are working to automate the system, and we are accepting proposals for an automated, app-based detail system, which will sort of change who will be assigning those details.
Do you know if the department will be contracting with outside individuals to do that kind of work?
I believe that we're requesting proposals right now.
Okay. Okay, sorry. And then, I guess, the CBA calls for the use of independent medical examiners. I don't know if you talked about this before, but what kind of progress is being made to, transitioning from the arbitrators to having, do we have independent medical examiners set up?
We do. We have a contract with a vendor to provide some of those, if someone has a shoulder injury, for example, we can have someone who specializes in shoulder injuries and the like. So we do have a contract out there with a vendor to review this, and I think it's actually going pretty well. We've used it a few times already.
Do you know how much is in the budget for the vendor, for outside services?
I do not, but the next panel might, and if
Okay.
not, I can
Okay.
try to get that for you.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to...
Thank you. Councilor Flynn?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have another follow-up question. So in disputes regarding an officer's fitness for light duty, appointing an independent medical examiner, what would happen if the police officer is engaged in or receives medical care for a long period of time at the Veterans Administration? Would that police officer be able to continue and have their medical provider at the VA testify? I'm just thinking out loud. Testify instead of this this person here that's writing a written opinion, an outside examiner. I just don't want to, and I know there's nothing that can be done about it now, but I just don't want something to happen where we are not factoring in whether or not the police officer is a veteran and their medical care as well.
So this won't affect their medical care at all?
No, I know. It won't affect their medical care, but the person that will provide a written opinion is someone that's an outside consultant or an outside medical provider. But would we give any consideration to that officer if he or she was a veteran engaged in medical care in Jamaica Plain, in West Roxbury, and on Causeway Street? Does that matter?
I think we give consideration to wherever they get their medical care, the doctors consult, and we certainly listen to the doctors at the Veterans Administration.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's important. If a police officer is a veteran, I want to make sure that that police officer has all the opportunity to present his or her case, but having their medical provider at the VA is also an important part of that. I want to ensure that the medical care that the officer is receiving is also factored in, which is the case, right?
Yes.
So this doesn't do anything for where the officer could get his care from?
I understand that. My question is, does it have an impact on the outside medical provider that's writing a written description to the police?
No, it doesn't. It's the same. It doesn't have any impact.
Yes. So our doctor will consult with their doctor, their medical provider, just to try to get on the same page first, and then, if they disagree, then we will send it to a IME. But the IME will review all the notes, all the files, and the IME might even reach out to the physician at the Veterans Administration as well.
I guess I'm saying it doesn't matter if it's a veteran's or if it's an office down the hall. They're going to consider, that's going to be his doctor, and they'll consider it with the department's doctor. It's the same process, no matter where he goes for his.
No, I understand, but for me, it does matter if the person is a veteran or not. I just want to make sure that that officer is getting the critical services, care, support, and consideration that they've earned. And for me, it does have an impact if that officer is a veteran or not. I would look at things a little differently in factoring the experience of that officer if he or she was a veteran, so it would have an impact. It does have a significant impact, as almost all veterans know. Civilians don't necessarily see that, but for a veteran, it does have an impact.
I'll say, the doctors will consult, and they will take the recommendation for the Veterans Administration physician.
Thank you. Any of my other council colleagues have second round of questions? Well, just want to say thank you to the administration for all your hard work, for the union for getting us to this point. All my council colleagues have asked all the questions that I have, and this hearing on dockets number 0744 through 0745 is adjourned.